The White Bear Area Chamber of Commerce and On Location TV19 are proud to present Your Business Matters, dedicated to your business needs. The White Bear Area Chamber is a nonprofit business organization serving as an advocate for the White Bear area and its business community. Now here is the Executive Director of the White Bear Area Chamber and the host of Your Business Matters, Tom Snell.
Welcome to the White Bear Area Chamber of Commerce television program, Your Business Matters. And this month we are pleased to have as our guest Jeanne Anderson, a local attorney in our area from the Stillwater and the White Bear communities. And Jeanne, your practice is somewhat different than other attorneys. And why don't you explain some of the things that you do with business?
Sure. Well, thanks for having me, first of all.
You're welcome.
One of the things I'm doing that's quite different is I'm offering free seminars for small business owners.
Okay.
3 times a month.
And what are they on?
They are on 3 topics: starting, growing, and selling your business.
Okay.
And I mix in there buying your business too, in with wherever it fits.
We're going to go into a little more in depth about what you do, but on those seminars, if somebody is interested in participating in those seminars, how do they get a hold of you?
Well, they can call my office, or they can also just find it on my website, which is www.stillwater-attorney.com.
Okay.
If you look for Stillwater Attorney, you'll find me.
Okay. And you have a telephone number, too, that they can reach you at?
Yes. The number is 651-439-1389.
Okay. Could you repeat that again one more time, please?
Sure. 651-439-1389.
And again, these seminars are on various business issues.
They are on starting your business, growing your business, selling your business, and they're free. They're 50-minute seminars. Basically 3 times a month, and I'm repeating them every month.
Okay, and are they at a certain time?
They're at 10:30 in the morning, 10:30 to 11:30. So just come on down Stillwater Road to my Myrtle Street office at 226 Myrtle.
All right.
And I actually do have some parking right next to my office there, but come on in. I'm in an old historic building on the 1st floor, on the main floor.
Okay.
And I'm allowing up to 12 people per session. And if you miss it, you can get in on the next one.
Oh, okay, great. Now, your business. You mentioned that you really focus a lot on your business related to small business.
Yes.
So, explain a little bit about the various services that you have beyond these seminars that you hold.
Yes. Well, what I do is I focus on small and micro businesses.
Okay.
And in all industries. And I help people to start their business.
Okay.
Which would be incorporating initial contracts, general advice that they need for getting launched.
All right.
From their idea to actually getting it up and running.
All right.
And then I do the same thing for people growing their business, whether they need a trademark registration, a federal trademark registration, whether they need to hire employees and they need an employment handbook, or they need employment contracts. They need a buy-sell agreement because they're taking on a partner, and various things that happen more in the middle stage of a business.
All right. Okay.
And then I also help people to buy and sell businesses.
All right. That sounds interesting. Now, this is more of a broad-based question. What are some of the pitfalls that you've run into in dealing with small business owners? Again, on all 3 areas that you focus attention on. What would be some danger signals, you might want to call it, that a business might face that you deal with in your practice?
Well, one thing I've noticed is that people will not call their attorney until after something's become a problem. So I would love to see more communication between businesses and their attorneys on a more ongoing basis.
Okay.
Like checking in if they're concerned about something before they sign contracts, and various things where I think entrepreneurs are kind of made to do things themselves.
Yes.
But to just kind of get some other feedback from an attorney ahead of time. Because sometimes what will happen is someone has already signed a contract, for example, in their personal name instead of their business name, and now they're personally liable on the contract. That would be just one example. And there's so many things I can do to help people if I can talk to them before they take actions.
Okay, that sounds interesting.
Yes, and less things I can help them with afterwards when it's become a problem and now it's more of a damage control.
Okay, all right.
So I like the preventative philosophy of law and legal advice for small businesses.
Are there any specific pitfalls that you have seen in your 20 plus years of legal advising that can lead a business to going into bankruptcy or closing down? I mean, are there a couple of things that you could point out that might be, that
Sure.
are real danger signals for somebody in business?
Right. Well, one would be, I would say, if there's more than one owner, if you don't have a buy-sell agreement, that where you have fixed the value of the stock or the company shares ahead of time, and then a partner leaves and you don't have that pre-planned out, how's that going to work, how much is the buyout going to be. I've seen that quite frequently. And then it's basically a business divorce, which is not good.
Okay.
You know, you can end up in court and a judge can decide then.
Okay. Now, a little bit more in detail, what exactly is a buy-sell agreement?
Okay. Well, what it is it's an agreement that two or more partners have in a business, partners or owners, where they decide what's going to happen if one of them decides to sell their stock, to quit, to if they file bankruptcy, if they get divorced, or they die. And there's other things that can fit in there too, retirement and so forth. But these different triggering events that, you know, some of them for sure will happen, some of them may happen, and that you set in advance what are the mechanisms of the buyout? How is it going to work? For example, you can buy life insurance, you know, to fund a buyout if one of the partners dies. That's just an example. You can set up a promissory note where the one partner is buying the other one out, maybe a down payment, and then like a promissory note over a 5-year period with payment plan and interest rate. So
now with a have you actually run into businesses where you have like a partnership where they have not done a buy-sell agreement? I mean,
I have, yes.
Really?
Recently, yes. I had a client that what they had done is they had gone to LegalZoom online to set up their corporate.
Well, their attorney was he helped defend O.J. Simpson, didn't he?
Yes. But I think the problem is if you're just going to a website, the website, it's not a person that can say, guys, you need this buy-sell agreement. You know, there's more than one of you. You know, you don't just need an incorporation. And so I asked the client when they were having some issues, well, can I see your documents? Do you have a buy-sell agreement? And he didn't know if he had one or not. So I would say I think a lot of what happens is that people just are unaware of things, and that's why I'm doing the free seminars. Because if I can try to educate people to recognize issues ahead of time, then I can prompt them to come back to another seminar and ask me a question, you know, so we can get in there before it becomes a problem.
Well, it's important that people protect their business and that they go through a process where they take care of issues before they become problems.
Yes,
right?
Yes, and I just think in general that a lot of small business owners are just not aware of, you know, pitfalls. And I mean, another one that came up today in a conversation I had with a family law attorney was the concept of having prenuptial agreements to protect you and your business before you get married or before you go into that second marriage. And then thinking about how you're running your business and how you're doing your accounting and your bookkeeping to be really clear on what's my salary, you know, what are my perks, what are the shareholder distributions. And I think if you're just neat and tidy about things and orderly and get your legal ducks in a row, you just avoid so many hassles and problems later.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting. Another area that I'm interested in looking at is business succession planning. And I bring this up because several years ago, I ran into a business owner that he passed away, and he had 2 sons. And each son set up a competing business, and I think they both failed. And they had names that were similar, and they went into business, and they wanted to prove that they were better than the other brother. And what happened is that this business then fell apart. Both of them fell apart. And that got me thinking that there needs to be a real process put in place for businesses to plan what's going to happen when the owner of a small family-owned business dies, passes away, or retires. And I also have heard that one of the key areas where businesses do come to an end is when they have a strong owner of a family-owned business, and that person then leaves or retires, and there's no plan put in place moving forward. Is that a pretty correct assumption to make?
It is. I would say that's a repeating theme I see of kind of people get caught up in their day-to-day operations, and they aren't looking down the road 5, 10 years, 3 years even. What's going to happen, or what if I die? What's going to happen to my business and my family? And unfortunately, I had a case where it was a bankruptcy case because the business failed. The main owner of the business died. The husband died. The wife hadn't been really involved, and now he also had no will. In addition to no succession planning at all, he didn't even have a will, a basic will. And so unfortunately she was put into this terrible situation of no will, no succession planning, and the business ended up filing bankruptcy. I guess the antidote to that would be planning ahead, of thinking, trying to remind people to think through ahead of time. What are your options? What's your best move? And I think it would probably start with, what are your goals? Do you want to turn the business over to your family? And, can they handle it? Will they have the skills to run the business, not just the operational aspects, but, the emotional aspects in terms of, are they going to get along with each other?
See, and I think that's a real critical point. How would somebody in business do it? Let's say you've got a business owner, and he's got a family that is really engaged, and obviously when somebody passes away or retires, there's somebody that's going to be running things.
Right.
And if you've got several people in the family that think, I can run this business better than the other members of the family, doesn't that potentially create some issues?
It creates some issues, and sometimes that's why I say look at your options. Sometimes your best option is actually going to be to sell the business to an outside party.
Oh, okay.
In the goal of preserving family relationships. And it's very tricky because a family operates more on a equal basis, whereas a business needs a clear leader. That's
a good point. Because you're right. I mean, a family, the way you operate a business and the way a family operates are two separate ways of doing things.
And they clash.
Yeah.
And so then you have to be very clear on who's doing what and what is their role and where are the lines drawn on the responsibilities and what's the chain of command. You can't have all the kids be vice presidents.
Right.
And, maybe one vice president, one president, or maybe just a president, a secretary, and a treasurer. You need a very streamlined leadership model.
Okay.
And corporate model, corporate structure.
So now, when you do go through this type of a transition, do you recommend that a family, in looking at it, might look at having other support mechanisms in place than just talking to an attorney?
I do. I recommend definitely a CPA, accountant that would help with the tax issues, because that should be part of the plan.
Okay.
And, maybe one vice president, one president, or maybe just a president, a secretary, and a treasurer. You need a very streamlined leadership model.
So now, when you do go through this type of a transition, do you recommend that a family, in looking at it, having other support mechanisms in place than just talking to an attorney?
I do. I recommend definitely a CPA, accountant that would help with the tax issues, because that should be part of the plan. and probably other financial advisors. Maybe even a banker, I don't know. I mean, I think it's good to pull together a team of your closest advisors and
Yes.
get them together coordinating on one page so you don't go to different advisors and get different advice that perhaps may be conflicting.
That's a good point. So you want to make sure that that everybody agrees on who the advisors are going to be so that you don't have two separate sets of people that are giving information that's different.
That's true. I mean, technically, it could be a situation where different people should have their own separate attorneys, in a buy-sell situation.
Okay. Well, let's look at a couple of scenarios on this. Let's say that I've got this family-owned business, and I'm going to retire. I want to move to Hawaii.
Okay.
And I've got 2 sons and a daughter. They're all very capable, and the business is profitable, and they know the business really well. What might be some suggestions? Because and let's also say that I don't want to make a member of my family feel bad, because you've got to have somebody on. I mean, would you, under that circumstance, would you maybe consider selling the business and then giving selling the business and then distributing the money to the children or the spouse, or how might you look at that then?
Well, that would be one option. I think the options should all be looked at, and I think it's hard to tell without knowing the people individually. If people have a clear understanding of what is a shareholder, what is an officer, what's an employee, and all those different roles, and if the roles are clearly defined, it can work to turn the business over to your kids.
Okay.
They have to be prepared. They have to be trained, and you need formal documentation. And I say that because what ends up happening is we act much more casually to people that we know well, and we would tend to not have documented agreements on what each of our roles are, for example, in an employment agreement, or various roles in the business. And I think the more clear you can make the roles and then document them, yes, it's formal, but then everybody knows what's going on and what they're expected to do and who's doing what. And I think it avoids some of these power plays.
Now, I don't want to assume too much, but it seems to me that in doing succession planning for a business, you need to start fairly early. I mean, it's not something that you say, well, I think I'm going to retire in 3 weeks. We need to get a succession plan in place.
I agree. It's more like 3 years or more.
3 years?
Yeah. I mean, I would say that would be ideal, 3 to 5 years that you're planning ahead. Part of the succession plan, too, is how you're running your business. You're going to run it different if you're going to sell it to an outside party compared to, in the family, probably, perhaps.
Okay.
I mean, to get the top dollar for the to sell it to an outsider, you want to make sure that there aren't personal perks in there that really, the books would look better if they weren't in there.
Oh, okay.
As far as the owner,
right,
taking out
good
various various funds out of the company.
Now, your business, your law business, you've been doing this for 25 years, did you say?
Yes.
And almost exclusively dealing with small business owners, right?
Right, and I did spend 7 years at the family business, which was a small manufacturing company.
Oh, you did? So you have direct experience.
I do. I have some fairly strong opinions based on my own experience.
Well, that's really interesting.
Yeah, what works and what doesn't work.
And people can do, and you do like package agreements with people too. I'm not going to go into the pricing, but you do package agreements for people that really need additional assistance in their business operations. Yeah,
I have some 90-day packages that are kind of comprehensive.
Okay, that sounds really, really interesting. Well, you have a really, really unique business.
Well, thank you.
And it seems that it's something that would be very useful and beneficial to many small business owners.
Thank you.
So anyway, I appreciate you coming to our program. And again, this is the White Bear Area Chamber of Commerce. Your business matters.
You've been watching Your Business Matters. For more information on this program or the White Bear Area Chamber, visit www.whitebearchamber.com or call 651-429-8593.